Okay, so this is page 12 in your packet, and I'm going to go over absolute value. Now, if you think about this, and I ask you what are possible values for x, you would tell me that x could be -3, the absolute value -3 equals 3, or x could equal 3. So when we have absolute value equations, what's ever inside the absolute value, when c is greater than or equal to 0, this is always going to either equal c, or it's going to equal -c. Because the absolute value of -c would be c, so if this equaled -c, the absolute value of -c is c, but the absolute value of c is c. So let's see how this works in this equation. So the absolute value of x minus 9 equals 2. Well, that means, this is how I do it, this x minus 9 either equals 2 or x minus 9 equals -2. I use these absolute value signs to remind myself there's going to be two equations. Now, if x minus 9 equals 2 and I add 9 to both sides, x equals 11. If x minus 9 equals -2 and I add 9 to both sides, x equals 7. So I have two solutions, 11 and 7. And if I plug in 11, 11 minus 9 is 2, the absolute value of 2 is 2, 7 minus 9 is -2, the absolute value of -2 is 2. So it works. So when you have an absolute value equation, we always create two equations from that. Now, before we actually create the two equations, though, we have to always isolate the absolute value sign. So, in this particular case, to isolate the absolute value, I'm going to first subtract 6. So, I subtract 6, and I get that equal to 24. And then I divide by 4, divide by 4, so this equals 6. So now I know 2x plus 8 either equals 6 or it equals -6. If I subtract 8, I get -2 here, and this is -1. I get -14, and this is -7. So I have two answers, either -1 or -7. 2 times -1 is -2, plus 8 is 6. The absolute value of 6 is 6. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 6 is 30. If this is -7, this becomes -14 plus 8, which is -6, and it also works. Now, go ahead and stop the video, do these two, and turn the video on and see if you got it right. So x plus 6 either equals 11 or x plus 6 equals -11. Here, x equals 5 or x equals -17. And if I plug it in, it works for both. In this particular case, I subtract 6, subtract 6. This is 15, divide by 3, divide by 3. So then either 5x minus 10 equals 5 or 5x minus 10 equals -5. 5x equals 15, x equals 3. 5x equals 10, x equals 2. Let's just check this out. If so, 5x minus 10 equals -5. If I add 10, I get 5x equals 5, x equals 1. So the answer is either 1 or 3. If it's a 1, 5 minus 10 is -5. 3 times 15 plus 6 is 21, that works. If it's a 3, this is 15 minus 10 is 5, 3 times 5 is 15, 6 is 21, so it both works. Okay, now turn the page and try to do the next problem. And you'll see what happens here when you try to do the next problem. If I subtract 8 from both sides, I get negative 3. And right away, you should be saying to yourself, whoa, that can't happen, because the absolute value always has to be positive. So once you've isolated your absolute value, if that's ever negative, it's not going to work, and you can just say no solution. Okay. Now, for absolute deviation, you can come to flex. So that's the end of the video.